Today on Biblical Higher Ed Talk, I sit down with Brad Johnson, president of the College of the Ozarks. Brad leads a unique college designed to prepare students for the workforce from a distinctly Christian perspective. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm your host, Philip Dearborn, president of ABHE, and I've been looking forward to this episode for this week. We have Dr. Brad Johnson, who is the president of College of the Ozarks. And I've just recently learned, better known as Hard Work U, from 1973 Wall Street article on the work of College of the Ozarks. So we may refer to it as College of the Ozarks or Hard Work U, any number of different ways through this podcast episode. But College of the Ozarks are one of ABHE's newest members, and so I thought it would be a great opportunity for our audience to get to know Brad as he leads this very unique institution, as well as College of the Ozarks, a work college. And ABHE has a couple work colleges that are part of membership, and College of the Ozarks joins us as one of our newest members. So, Brad, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Philip. It's great to be on the show today, and I so appreciate the work of ABHE and your stance of upholding biblical higher education, and how important is that in today's world, not only in our country, but across the globe.
So well said. And I've had the opportunity to interact with you a couple of times. I think mostly it's been at the Alliance Defending Freedom, ADF summits. And through those conversations have really grown to appreciate your approach as our listeners are about to find out, even what is a work college, but what is a Christian work college? And I think the scripture has so much to say about how we are created, what it means to be created in the image of God. And part of being created in the image of God is for us to work. You are very clearly bringing those pieces together and instilling kind of a unified message for students. So I'm excited about what we're going to learn about here during this episode. So give us a primer in case our listeners, they're not familiar with what a work college, and I'm saying work as in WORK, not a war college, a work college. There is a difference. There is a difference. Different armies, different warfares, right?
That's right.
But tell us, what is a work college?
Yeah, so a work college is a name given to a group of colleges that are actually defined in federal statute. And so those colleges all agree to have a comprehensive student work learning service program that's comprehensive across the campus. All of your residential students have to participate. We have to have objectives, learning objectives. There have to be evaluations that take place for the work component. In fact, at College of the Ozarks, and I think in probably all of the work colleges, students on their transcripts get a work grade. And so when a student graduates from one of our institutions, that grade shows up on their transcript. And it is a testimony to not only the academic component of an education, but the work component as well. Those are things that are a part of that. Obviously, the evaluation process is important. We have work supervisors that are very intricately involved with that process, and so those are some of the things that make us unique. Obviously, it's out there in federal statute that people could go look and take a look.
So I'm curious, what was the reasoning behind that statute being created? Was there a problem that folks were trying to solve?
Well, that'd be a great question to research. I think, from my perspective and what I've learned from how it began, College of the Ozarks began this way in 1906. And so we were doing it well before that the College of the statute was out there. But I think it was a part of the recognition of our federal government to say, this is a unique brand in higher education. And the federal work study program is a part of that, and they designated funds, additional funds to support that effort because they recognized there was something special that took place when students work as a part of their educational process.
Interesting. So how many work colleges would there be?
There are 9 federally designated work colleges, and they all have different objectives. Some of them are faith-based, some of them are not, and so some of them have more of a strictly work focus. Others have more of a liberal arts, like College of the Ozarks. We have a liberal arts focus, in addition to some of the more work-oriented types of things that we do.
Yeah. So when you're sitting down with a parent, or your admissions team is sitting down, in giving the sales pitch for why a student should attend, how do you talk about it differently than you would say just at a normal? Or not a normal, but another college that has a more traditional approach of a liberal arts like how are you differentiating yourself from the rest of the market?
Sure. Well, I think one of the first things that we want to do is talk about the expectations of the college. As a Christian college, there are certain things that we expect and are a part of our DNA as a college. The character, the faith, and a sense of responsibility, patriotism, those are all things that are part of College of the Ozarks. Beyond that, I think we want them to know that, this is unlike any other or most other higher education experiences out there. When you come here, you'll be engaged in work 15 hours a week. And 2 40-hour work weeks throughout the academic year. And in exchange for that, you get to go to college tuition free and ultimately graduate debt free. And so College of the Ozarks doesn't even participate in the student loan programs. So it's all of our students will graduate completely debt free.
So that's a statistic that's 100% or close to, like they're all.
We don't even participate in it. They could have automobile debt or something like that out there, but they get to graduate with absolutely no educational debt.
Which is I love the model, especially in today's environment, because we're, everything that's going on with Title IV, there's some, even, with the new legislation that has passed that ABHE is working through, because a number of our institutions are providing ministry preparation degrees, and the program accountability saying that, you have to meet certain salary thresholds. It's like you get to avoid all of that by a business model that allows. Talk about a win-win, right? You're running the institution in the black, and institutions or students are graduating debt free. So it's a pretty tight business model. It is,
and it's unique because we have a very defined student body. It's a subset of student body. That 90% of our students, by definition, must have financial need, and that's not in federal statute. That's College of the Ozarks model. But that is that's something that we really focus on. We were founded with that in mind to help students of the Ozarks, and it's expanded since then. But students that might not have another opportunity to go to college. We have students all the time that come to us that come from really challenging backgrounds and come here, and this may be the first time that they've had a full array of meals for a week, and many of them are coming to us with just a backpack full of their belongings, and so it's a really unique ministry, and just so excited to be a part of it. It's amazing.
That is great. How long have you been president at the college?
I'm finishing up my 4th year here.
4th year, okay. 4th year. So before that, were you involved in higher education, Christian higher education?
I was involved in a number of other institutions, one up close, not too far from here, at Southwest Baptist University in Bolivar, Missouri, and then before that in Texas, at Howard Payne University and Hardin Simmons University. So all faith-based institutions.
Yeah. So how long did it take coming in as president in that 4 year? How long did it take for you to get the language and fully engage and understand your unique approach?
Well, I had heard of the institution and actually visited campus a number of times, but it is such a unique model, and it takes a little bit of time to adjust to that, because at every other institution that I've ever served, we are always focused on trying to recruit more and more and more students. And since no one pays tuition at College of the Ozarks, growing enrollment is not something that it kind of adds a balance to the wrong side of the ledger. So there's a defined number that we try to target each year, and it'll fluctuate, a little bit. But we really try to focus on that subset of students that we can serve well.
Yeah. So students are working, you said 15 hours a week, and then did you say 2 40-hour weeks in a semester or in a year?
In a year. In a year.
Okay. Year. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if they they become a part of our summer work program, we will apply that experience and their work hours to cover their room and board throughout the academic year. So a student, if they are interested in doing that, could actually have all their room and board paid for as well. So it's a fun model, and I feel like we're really helping those students that again might not have another opportunity.
So from I would imagine there are a pretty significant number of complexities in setting up the college to place every single student into a work environment. So there's a lot of intentionality, I would think, in creating jobs and job descriptions for students and supervising situations. Because I remember going in my traditional undergraduate experience, I actually did qualify for work study, and I it was just like I was thrown into the cafeteria and have fun washing the pots and pans. I didn't need a job description for that. I just went in and I just at night washed all of the pots and pans. Not your approach at your institutions. Walk us, what's some of that background to get to a position to be able to even provide those positions for students and supervision and the learning experience?
Right. Well, we do have students that work in the cafeteria, or they're washing pots and pans. They call it the dish pit. Which is kind of a fun terminology there. But we also have students that will work in faculty offices. Generally, those are our upper class students that have been here a few years. But we'll have roughly 400 students that work in the Keeter Center, which is our hospitality management. We have a hotel and a restaurant there right here on campus. And we'll have about 400 students that will work in that workstation alone. But we have landscaping. We have a child development center or a daycare that some of our education students will work in that space. We also have a K through 12 classical Christian school.
Really?
Some educational students will work in that space, particularly if they are interested in engaging classical Christian education as a career.
Yeah.
And but from sports information for our athletic teams, we'll have students working in those spaces. But we have to have a job, like in federal statute, we have to have a job for every student. So and a meaningful work experience. There are things that you learn in the dish pit, so to speak, washing dishes, and the community that's built there. We've had one of our graduates that came back to speak at commencement a few years ago, and she said, what I learned through this process was I came to appreciate people who mowed the grass, because that was my roommate that helped mow the grass, and I took notice because my roommate was doing that, and my friends were doing that type of work, and I came to appreciate those things much more than I ever did before.
Yeah. So because it's a holistic sort of approach that, I'm sure it's not segmented into your curriculum. It's separate from the job. I'm sure it's all very much integrated, and there's definitely an understanding that, and I think wrongly so, that your college equals a job. So if you go to college, then your degree ought to get you a good paying job. And it feels like we've boiled down the whole college experience to simply making me job ready. How do you, because of your focus on work, how do you resist kind of that least common denominator that people are just there to get a job and to be job eligible once they graduate? Because there's a lot more to it.
Exactly. And there's so much focus right now on whether a degree leads you to gainful employment at a certain level. And those things are important, but there's so much more to it. People that are going into the service industry or into ministry are not doing that because they're going to make a lot of money, most likely, and so it's really important. And I think that's one area where the folks maybe in Washington haven't always appreciated that aspect, and hopefully the way we tell our stories is compelling, and that they can they come to learn that those careers are vitally important to a healthy society. But we view the educational as preparation for life, and leadership, and ultimately citizenship, not only of the communities that we're engaged with here locally, but the nation, and ultimately Scripture talks about being citizens of heaven, and that's important. How do we build a life that reflects that even here on earth? And so that's something that we are aiming for, instilling that Christian worldview in students, that it's more than how much money can I make when I graduate here. It's more than the fulfillment of a career. It's what impact am I making as my life, and what's God calling me to.
Yeah. And like I said, it is that holistic perspective, right? Because we know from a theology of work that in Genesis, work was given to us by God as an expression of who He is, who God is. We're created in His image. Work was given to us in perfection before sin entered. So work is not, even some may think so, work is not a result of the fall. We were actually created to work. So it really is kind of an intentional, holistic approach to how we're created to work, and in your job or in your lifetime, you're going to experience numerous jobs, but what's the bigger thing that we're trying to accomplish? And you've been so good at articulating it is about being a good citizen. It's a citizen here on earth. It's a citizen of heaven. It's carrying the good news of Jesus Christ in the context. And you all are very intentional about bringing all of those things together. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say there's something that is that work brings dignity to an individual. We see students that are never really worked in their life. And they come here and may have a poor opinion of work as it starts, but you see the self-worth and the dignity that grows out of this experience, and it's something that they will take with them for the rest of their lives. They're building a work ethic that makes them an attractive employee in a work setting, and if they come out of here with a biblical worldview that grounds them in what is important, and so all of those things together, just it's really unique.
Yeah,
the way that it comes together.
It must be double. I've always said my favorite part of when I did serve at an institution was graduation day, was being able to see students walk across the stage, because you know what they were like when they came in, right? And they were passionate, they were unfocused, they were just kind of all over the place. And then over 4 years of refinement, just to see them as adults walk across that stage and receive that degree, it must be like doubly rewarding for you all because of the population that you are reaching, and the way you just described it, as some of them having, no job experience or very negative, to then see them walk across the stage. That's got to be pretty rewarding. Right.
Absolutely. And to see what they have overcome, whether it's a tough childhood, or maybe that wasn't the case, but to see how the work in the Christian environment and the education that they experience changes their life and changes the trajectory of where they will end up in the future. And it's really fun to
That's cool.
Commencement is one of my favorite days of the year.
Yeah,
and it's a day that we mark a part of our mission being fulfilled.
Yeah, well said. So it's got to take a unique team to pull this off. So you're hiring faculty and staff. What's how do you approach it, and how do you make sure that those that you do have are staying on board with the unique mission that you have?
Well, it all starts with the people that you're hiring and that you have on the team, and we're so blessed at College of the Ozarks to have such a fantastic team that is dedicated not only to just the idea of higher education and the advantages that come from that, but this whole work model and the value that comes from working. We're looking for people that they have to have that in order to be here. They have to believe in higher education. They have to believe in the value that is created through work, because that's what we do. They have to obviously their faith is very important, and we walk through a series of interviews where they have to talk about their faith and articulate that in writing and verbally to us as we interview them. And something that's really unique, in particular for the academic side of the house, is that we have something called our Faithful Lives Project. And so each new faculty member that comes to the college, at the end of that first year, produces a paper that they present in front of their colleagues to talk about how they integrate their faith within their academic discipline, and how they have done that in the past and how they plan to do that into the future. And so it's part of the evaluative process after that first year. The unique thing that helps us keep on track there is that every 6 years, those faculty members, it's on a rotation, but every 6 years, a faculty member will update that paper and provide additional information about how they've grown and what they've learned and how their perspectives may have changed and how they're doing faith integration maybe even differently than what they did when they began.
Wow.
But it's something that we continue to monitor and help safeguard the mission of the institution. No institution is better than the people who serve there, and I'm just so proud of our folks and what the way they pour into the lives of students, both academically and professionally and spiritually as well.
Yeah. Do you provide, so if they're to write, if they're teaching math or science or history or philosophy or in hospitality, or do you provide help or resources for the faculty in figuring out how to teach their discipline from a Christian or a biblical worldview? Through our provost's office, they will talk with them about the importance of that, doing that, number one. But then here are the resources if you're having questions or need additional information about how you can do this more effectively. They have resources that they can call upon to do that. Yeah. I love the fact that it's because people who have listened to this podcast have heard me say this multiple times, that, one of the biggest traps that we walk into in higher education is the hiring of faculty. And we're diligent on the front end of it, making sure that they check all of the boxes we want them to check, that they're a mission fit, that they believe with our unique statement of faith and all of those kinds of things. But people change over time. So the biggest issue I had with faculty wasn't when I was hiring them. The biggest issue was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years later, where, we just assume you're just the same person you were when you came in. But that's not the reality. Right. People do change, their perspectives change, and you kind of have a system in place for faculty to articulate even how they've changed over that time, good changes, and perhaps even, hey, maybe we have deviated a little bit from the mission of the institution. But that's something that is regularly done with you all, and you publish those, right?
We actually do. We'll publish we may not publish every one of them, but there are a subset that we publish every year as a little journal that we can give to people. So if there are those out there that are interested in having one of those and reading that, we'd be happy to share those things.
What a rich resource too, that even for faculty members who are writing kind of their reflections, have a resource to go back to see how it's like a positive peer pressure exercise, right? Of saying, hey, I have to do this as part of my employment, but from a bigger picture, how can I contribute to the overall a scholarship of my colleagues in moving this thing forward? What about staff members? Because I'm sure you have quite a team of people who are like supervisors who aren't necessarily faculty members. And anything you do with them to make sure that they're staying on mission with you?
Again, a rigorous interview process starts that relationship. But as a part of the annual review, it's a little bit different for staff. And so as a part of that annual review, we're looking at those things, asking questions. So it's more of an annual type of thing with staff in that review process. Okay. And they're, to say that it is fully developed as the faculty side would be, it's not. And so those are things that we're looking to grow. And in fact, I'm having a conversation here in a couple of weeks with another institution that I feel like is doing that really well. And so we're trying to learn from them too.
Yeah, I love that. You're learning too as you go along the way, and you're contributing to the bigger. I hope I
never quit learning. There's so much.
So well said.
So much to learn.
So well said. This has been, Brad. This is, believe it or not, our episode is wrapping up here. This has been a fascinating conversation. Really appreciate the work that you're doing, and you're so articulate about it. And in the conversations I've had with you, there's a passion there that you have for it. And a passion for this generation. We hear so much negative out there, and I constantly say there's so much positive, and I think you're demonstrating that through how you approach your education. I'm sure it's difficult because you're shaping the generation to have an appreciation for work and understanding how God has created them with talents and gifts and abilities, and translating that into work. So thank you for leading the way, and thrilled to have you as part of the broader ABHE family. So we have time for one more question. So you got a minute and a half. What's a leadership lesson that you personally have learned that you'd like to leave with our audience?
Well, I think one of the things that I've come to learn and over a period of years is that it takes more than saying what we are against. We have to articulate in a winsome way what we are for, and what we stand for and why. And so I think, as I think about conversations that are important, whether it's in D.C. or right here on campus, I think we have to show what we are about, and not just. Sometimes we have to say what we're against too, but I think more importantly, showing what we're for and how we are advancing the kingdom of God right here on earth. Not that everybody's going to resonate with that message, but I think it's important for us to be able to articulate those things and how we are making a difference in our world, because I believe that our students are doing that, one by one and collectively as well.
Yeah. That's such great wisdom, and it is. We need to lead, even in secular contexts, like you mentioned, Washington. Like, there's a lot that we stand for that the average person who's not necessarily a Christ follower really even care about our industry or our sector, that we're actually contributing to culture and society and our communities and patriotism and all of those pieces. Like, that's that message resonates, and looking for those opportunities. And I like your word, winsome. And that then creates a platform for us to then also share Jesus with people that we encounter, right?
It's amazing what doors that opens up.
Yeah. Well, Brad, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and experiences with us today.
My privilege, Philip. Thank you for having me on the show today.
You bet. And if you'd like more information about College of the Ozarks in our show description, I will put the website for the college. I'm sure you can Google it too. But Brad, you're very kind to also make available any of those journals or those that you do produce. So if you are interested in seeing the work of his faculty in those select journals, then definitely just reach out to his office there at College of the Ozarks. So until next time, stay kingdom focused.
The Biblical Higher Ed Talk podcast is proud to be a part of the Higher Ed Marketer Podcast Network. Discover even more conversations, resources, and tools to help you grow your institution at thehigheredmarketer.com, your go-to community for all things higher ed marketing and leadership.